What up, G?
What up, H?
How you doing, bro?
It's all good, bro.
Yeah, where we at? What are we doing?
Yo, it's hot, bro. Let's start there. Episode 39 today.
Episode 39.
That's where we at.
Where are we?
We're in the heart of the beast. Heart of the beast.
Oh, geez, we even see that's where you were going.
Yeah, dude. We're in Hartebees right now, just outside of Hartebees.
Yeah.
Distillery called
Incendo.
Incendo.
Yeah.
Right. So we are profiling something very interesting, something that's been on the market for a while.
Perfect thing to do in the month of October. This is something that's gonna make so much sense. We're here with the Distilling Natives and the founder of the Distilling Natives to talk all things gin, but all things entrepreneur, so you know exactly what we're doing. We're in the entrepreneur spotlight, and today the guy who takes the hot seat is none other than the founder of Distilling Natives, Ashley Moemise. Ashley, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. I know it's a busy time of the year for you guys, but I think let's just get straight into it. Who is Ashley Moemise? Where are you from? And give us a little brief history of who this man is.
Yeah. Okay. Ashley Moemise is a father, an entrepreneur, born in Alexander, grew up in Garankuwa. But for all intents and purposes, a guy from Garankuwa. It's as simple as that.
If you would love to tell me
I'm a guy from Garankuwa, as simple as that. That's what I identify with.
Yeah.
That's where I grew up.
Okay.
That's where, in a sense, my entrepreneurial journey started. I used to have a friend, BT.
Yeah.
His mom used to buy bags of spices.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And we would go house to house selling spices. You know, when we were still into high school.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we did. So that's where we started. You know, I think that's where my journey started. We did that for a while, and for me, he was my best friend.
Okay.
So it was just hanging with my best friend while he's
doing
selling spices. You know what I mean? Got to know a lot about spices. And the variety.
Well, clearly, and you're still in it now.
No, for sure. I did a course in fashion designing, which I always explain as a lack of opportunities to where you can express your creativity academically, you know what I mean? I mean, I finished matric in 88.
Yeah.
Back then, you know, choices for creatives were not as many as today. There's no, even if you could choose something, there was no platform for it. Fast forward, met a few of my clients, joined the airline. So I did chicken or beef for 13 years. Loved it. I loved it.
So you must have learned a lot in that time.
Oh yeah, I did. And the nice thing about it is that I still had a workshop. While I was still working at SAA. So I had two ladies that worked in the workshop, and then one of the guys that did internship with me when he was in college came and we partnered. So when I was flying, he would hold down the fort, you know.
At least you had a nice little support structure in the beginning of doing that. So while you were chicken or beefing at 36,000
somebody was sewing something.
Somebody was sewing something, you know what I mean? I knew when I come back I have to deliver to a client, or I've booked a client and I'll see the client and all of that, you know. And I think that's also where I realized that one needs to have sort of like a production goal. You know, it shouldn't just be people come to see you, take measurements, and then they go. You know, so it was a whole production. You know, when they walked in, I had my cigar box on the table. I had whiskey.
So you created an experience.
So whenever they walked away, you know, after I got the business, and that's when I'd offer the cigar. After
of course. It's a reward.
Not before. It's a reward. The other thing that I realized was that what is it that makes you different from everybody else? Now, in retrospect, that was the learning for now. So the whole journey of buying, selling, making stuff, and has been a big part of my life. You know.
It's kind of sounding a little bit like, you know, what we've referred to on the show as a purebred entrepreneur. So regardless of your stint in the 9 to 5 in the air, you know, you've always had this concept of running your own business and doing your own thing.
I always thought, you know what, God didn't allow me to do it in my 20s because I was not focused. And I've always thought, you know what, the time will come when I'm more focused, more exposed.
Okay.
You know, I always say sometimes it's good to go into corporate.
Yeah.
Learn the discipline, learn the structure, so that when you open your own business, you can apply that learning to your own business.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because a lot of us just run amok, you know?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, you start a business and then
it's trial and error, and it's mostly error.
Yeah, but you know,
time.
But unfortunately, that's what happens in business.
Sure.
A business is trial and error.
Yeah.
You learn certain things. Some things work out. Some things don't work out.
Yeah.
You if you're able to correct and move forward.
Yeah.
You know, that's the best thing you can ever do for yourself. Yeah, you tweak as you go along.
Yeah.
When I stayed in Yeovil, we used to hang out on Rocky Street. In Hillborough, just across from High Point, there used to be a small restaurant. It was called Three Sisters.
Yes.
And I think for me, that was my first restaurant experience.
Okay.
At Three Sisters, you know, and they used to have these baby chickens that they used to kill. You know? I mean, this thing was nice. You know, that's where it started. And then when I started flying, a lot of the destinations I would have my favorite restaurant. And eventually, when this interest grew, you know, we started hosting lounge sessions. So I got into lounge very early. Lounge music. So
I see.
we did lounge sessions at home.
Okay.
And then we'd, go steal a chef from there, cook.
Yeah.
First 20 people to buy tickets, get a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Sure. And that was when I was still at SAA, and we did it. It grew too big for the yard.
Yeah.
And then we took it to a venue, and eventually everybody was like, "Why don't you open a restaurant?" Because we could do this regularly. We started thinking about it, and we thought, wow, why not? And slowly but surely we put together a business plan, approached a couple of people, and then the one company said, guys, we're good to go.
Here's the funding.
But also fear crept in.
All right.
It meant I must leave my job.
Yeah.
It meant, and I had a sense of security after 30 years.
Sure, yeah.
At SAA, you kind of had this,
bubble.
net that the bubble, so to speak. It covers you to a certain degree. Got home, started processing the whole thing. Is it gonna work? How is it gonna work?
How are you gonna do it?
Yeah. We went and saw a guy called Lembro. Lembro owns the Brand News Cafe.
Okay.
Sat down with Lembro, and because everybody was like, why don't you guys open a franchise? And that was the days of News Cafe, Capello, and all of that.
In the hype.
Yeah. And after sitting with Lembro, I was like, no man, we can do this crap ourselves.
Yeah.
Why should I become a manager for Lembro?
Yeah.
But I take out the loan. I'm not saying that's what it is. But to me, that's what it is.
Because that's the mentality of an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Because also you would just be in essence slotting into somebody else's dream and somebody else's.
Yeah. Then I become his growth partner.
Exactly.
True. Yeah. When we said, okay, we want to do African food, but continental, not necessarily South African food.
Yeah.
So we do East, West, North, South.
Okay.
And then we'll take from my travels. We'll take everything that that is common to the East, common to the North, common to the South and West. And in that sense, the menu grew, and then kind of the brand started developing from there.
Okay.
There's a guy called Coco. Coco's surname is very difficult for me. He's a chef. He had written a book called To the Banqueting House.
Okay.
That was part of what I went through, and I liked what I saw. It's like, okay, so some of these sauces are very, I like experimental stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we do this? The chimola sauce, can we do this pesto, that pesto? And this was, 2008.
Yeah. So that was the birth then of clearly Afro Lounge.
Then the birth of Afro Lounge. This is not the first brand that I'm building from scratch, and everybody's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It was the same with Afro Lounge. People were like, dude, you could have opened something that everybody knows, and you could have had an easier path and support from marketing and wow. But then when I looked at the numbers, a lot of people don't sit with the franchise owners and then go through the numbers.
Yeah.
And when you look at the numbers,
they
either make sense because you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly.
And you want the easy way out.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, for me to have an easy way out, I'll pay the 8% marketing fee.
Yeah.
And the franchise fees.
And the franchise fees, and it all builds up. And then by that time, you don't even know how much your rent is going to be.
Sure.
And then they hit you with a 50,000 rand rental.
And then you don't know. Then there's all of these costs that you don't know of that are going to come up within that space.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So Afro Lounge was born, opened in Curran Park, in Pretoria North.
Yeah.
And then it didn't work out so well. Location was not as ideal as we all thought it was.
Yeah, that's why we left also.
Yeah. So, we had a choice. We burn at that moment. Or we move.
Sure.
Either way, we're going to be in legal trouble.
Sure.
Yeah.
So rather move on.
Yeah.
But we're not we're not burning.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not saying something that's
You know what I mean? You live to fight another day. That was the whole concept.
Sure.
You know? So 2010, we opened at the State Theatre,
Yeah.
and we were at the State Theatre for 5 years,
Yeah.
for the rest of our lease.
Yeah.
And that was one good experience. Eventually, at the end of the 5-year period, we closed down. When it got to that part, that's when I learned to let go. Because I was still running around looking for investors post the 5 years. And eventually I realized, you know what, Ash, at some point you need to know where to let go.
call it quits.
You see, now that's another very valuable lesson also within business. And I think entrepreneurs that are doing anything, at some point, your business reaches its life cycle, or it gets to its end. And sometimes people dig themselves into a grave without realizing that, because they want to hold on.
One thing I've come to realize, I don't blame them. When you build a brand and you build it from scratch, and you sacrifice a lot of things, and this goes, that goes, and then you kind of give up on a bit of a lifestyle that you used to have, and then downgrade a little bit, so that this business can survive. There's no way, I think it's mostly guys that read business books that tell you not to dig in your heels, because they've never had to build a brand and then get attached to it emotionally. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I'm just generalizing, but for me, I find that a lot of people that come from more the academic side of business tend to apply what they studied rather than what they've experienced, right? So it is good not to dig in your heels. I get that, but it's not the easiest thing if you've built that brand from the beginning. There is no way you're not emotionally attached to the brand.
100%.
You are, everybody else can tell you they're not, but you are. It's your baby. Like I said, there's a lot of emotionally invested in it. There's sacrifice, there's money, there's a whole lot that goes into building a business, building a brand. The thing is that then you get labeled as arrogant, and you're not. People are not walking in your shoes on a daily basis. They don't see the sacrifices you're making. They don't see. And sometimes as entrepreneurs, we seem to be hardcore, very arrogant, but it's not.
From Afro Lounge, then, how do we get to the Distilling native?
I am native. So 2013, there's a guy, he did my graphics, my art, and all of that. Sbu Siso, my son. So Sbu used to do my menus, he understood my brand. So Sbu, I could give him a brief. And because he had designed pretty much everything around the brand, from menus, menu layouts, and whatever. But in most cases, what I do is I'll draw everything. And Sbu will digitize.
And then he gets
because I'm still a Neanderthal. I can't use. I'm still going through the evolution stage. So a lot of this. He's in the fifth industrial. So Sbu understood the brand from the restaurant side. 2013, Sbu and I started playing with the idea of craft beer. I said to Sbu, it would be nice to have our own beer that we serve as a house beer.
And that was in the middle of the craft beer.
It was. And actually, most people didn't even know about it.
But it was
I think it was before Jack Black and whatever. It was more Sabi Brewery. It was the Aviator in Cullinan, a restaurant in Sorgadi Washeni. It put me in a meeting on a regular basis. So we kind of shelved it, but we had already done the work. We'd done the imaging, we'd done the story behind it, So, it had started as something else, because I'm still going to go do it. So let's leave it at something.
Okay, let's leave it.
And then it grew into native lager, and we were like, native lager, okay, let's play with native lager and see what we can do. The gap in between closing the restaurant, that was the toughest time. I mean, we all talk about our best side, like Apiwe once said, she was washing a valve and it was dirty. He says, this is the stuff we don't put on Instagram. Which is true. I thought it should be the stuff we put on Instagram, so people have a proper picture of what entrepreneurship is. Entrepreneurship is not just the glamour. So after we closed down, there was lack of income, there was this and that, and in that time, I took the time to say, okay, Ash, who are you without all of this? I kind of sat and I started taking all my experience from the restaurant, and I put all of that into a document. So not a book, but sort of like a training manual. So I created checklists for businesses, for restaurants. I created training manuals. I created. So I created a whole file.
Is that
of my whole experience? No. So with that, I started Mbako Restaurant Consulting. So Mbako Restaurant Consulting pretty much still exists. With that, what I do is that entrepreneurs would call me and say, listen, I'm opening a restaurant. Give me an empty space. And then I'd start by designing the space, working on the space, bringing people on board to paint, to do carpentry too. So we start, and then in the process, then I start training the staff. I start training the management. I trust the kitchen. Yeah. So we create the menu. We do food costing. Yeah. So we pretty much do A to Z of restaurant. That got me to this point where I met Karabo, a guy called Karabo Mutobi from Harangua. Yeah. So Karabo and I worked on his project #Meat Cafe with his brother Pumulo, and then I spent 2 years with him at the restaurant. And when the time was right, Karabo and I started Native Culture. When the cash became ready, I had to go to the shelves and say, okay, do we do beer or do we do, because we had spoken about doing beer for a year. When the time was ready, I went to talk to a couple of guys that I knew, because you know, once you're in the restaurant industry, a lot of people, there's a lot of low-hanging fruits. Sure. Macro, you know, where you buy liquor. Spa, which used to be the anchor store, spoke to the guy. They said, listen, we're sitting with craft beer here, so it's not moving. Yeah, so
you did your marketing.
Yeah. So very important. Spoke to a lot of people, believe it or not. I think 3 days later or 4 days later. In the meantime, while I was talking to the guys, I sent friends of mine. I created a group. And then I said, this is the brand I want to go with the gin. What do you guys think? Because we're supposed to be native muti. And they were like, no, muti.
It's good.
You know. And then somebody came down. Somebody came down. Black people are sensitive about the word meat. We got that review, and I mean, the review was mostly what white people would think. And then I gave a friend of mine, Sunel. I said, Sunel, listen, this is what I want to go with. Very Afrikaans lady from Bloemfontein. And I gave her this, and I said, Sunel, what do you think about this? And I said, listen, I'll send it to about 20 guys that I know between Cape Town and Joburg, and then let's see what they come up with. You know. And the feedback was very good. You know, then I was confident I could drop the word muti. Because then somebody else let me know that there's a muti gin. So we could drop the word muti. Exactly. A couple of days later, I'm sitting at home and I said, you know what, this is around 11:30. I said, let me just check who does contract distilling. Right? Because for me, the idea of setting up a distillery when I was not really sure about the process of distilling didn't make sense. But for me as a brand developer, you know, or somebody who starts brands from scratch and build them, I thought, let me do contract distilling, because I already understood there was contract brewing, I understood what the industry is. So I thought, if I can do contract distilling, who would I do it with?
Just before you jump into that, I know a lot of people will ask, what is contract distilling? And like, I'm thinking, because I understand what you're saying, because I understand the concept of your brand, but maybe somebody listening doesn't really understand what contract distilling is.
So it's a simple principle. You own the distillery. I've got the recipe, I've got the label, I've got the bottle choice that I want. And I just say, listen, here's the recipe. 9 out of 10, the guy that owns the distillery, who's the distiller, would refine your recipe. Because normally what we come up with is crap that we think is going to work.
It's going to work.
You know what I mean?
They've got the experience.
He's got the experience to tell you that won't balance with that. And that is contract distilling. So we agree that so his resources and obviously his skill to make the gin, right? And so we own the brand, and in most cases it's good to even own your recipe. Right? Cool. And then
own your master.
Own your master. I was sitting at home at 11:30, and I did the search, and Incendo came up, and I was like, okay, it's a send a message. I just want to find out if you do contract distilling, and I thought, switch off the phone, leave it on the side of the bed. I'll talk to this guy in the morning. He's probably sleeping. And he responded. And I'm like, hey, so in the morning, Francois had sent me pretty much everything I needed to know.
Time,
as far as money, the works, you know, what it's gonna cost, possibilities, and a day later I was here. We sat across the table from there, and then kind of got to know each other. Spoke about what I want in the gin, the flavor profiles. But remember, I used to sell spices.
Yes. So now the spices from primary school. So and then he ran me through some of the botanicals I was not aware of. And look, I did my research, but you know, even that is not the same as when you're standing in a distillery and somebody who's actually doing it is telling you something about how.
That's key as well.
Yeah, it's very key. Long story short, within a week, 7 days from that day, we had about 5 recipes prepared. We chose one of the recipes, we tweaked it a little bit. Native was born, and then while we were still busy with Native, We thought, ladies like pink stuff. And now we got more guys buying the culture. And then culture was born.
Okay.
So obviously the other thing is before you even do anything, register your intellectual property.
Yes.
So
IP.
register a trademark. You can't put things out there without trademark, and then 6 months later somebody's doing it and they've trademarked it and you cry foul.
Exactly.
Protect your IP.
Yeah. That's where the lawyers come in.
Yeah. So that had already been done when we had decided what this is.
Yeah.
Labeling started being done, which was also a shock because now you have to pump. It's a matter of scale.
Yeah.
The more you print, the less you pay.
Yeah.
But you're asking yourself, am I going to sell 5,000
bottles? Exactly. Just with that, while we're still on the labeling, we saw that you actually personally sign all of your labels.
For now.
For now.
Look, we do small batch. And we'd like to keep it that way. Obviously not for long.
Sure.
But in the initial stages where we're still finding ourselves as a brand, where we're still growing as a brand, it would be nice. It's a nice touch.
It really is, honestly. Yeah.
It is.
I think it's a very nice touch. I love personal stuff. I'm a sucker for limited edition. I'm literally that guy who's like the marketing gimmick, but I also understand it because I work with it. I'm like that as well. So that's a super cool touch to what you guys are doing.
Native Culture is the total brand.
Okay.
And somebody said to me, why don't you just call both of them Native Culture? I was like, no, they're twins.
Okay.
One is native, one is culture, as such, native culture.
And
also, and then people ask me, why native culture? And I say to them, listen, natives have been distilling and brewing for years. For years. I've done research on this. For years, from Tanzania, Uganda. I mean, people, when we grew up, people used to say we're drinking spirits. They would call it, exactly. Meanwhile, people have been distilling tototo.
Exactly.
People have been making tototo, which is spirit. What you didn't know was that 100% alcohol, 200% alcohol.
Exactly. And we didn't know the effects. Nor was the actual recipe standard.
Was there? But in Victoria they used to call it Patama research.
Patama research. Wow.
It gets so
translation. Lie down and get served.
Locked out by this liquid. There's a whole history behind distilling and brewing. People when you say native they think in black, but our focus is more black. But natives is anybody born in a place.
In a place, you're a native.
You're a native. That's something that I always wanted to misspell. To kind of correct. To say it's not
black.
It is being born in a place.
A native.
And then you are a native of that place. This thing has been a thing that has been happening for years. Whether it's red wine or beer or spirits, and also most people are not aware that gin. A lot of people say there's a gin boom, and there is. I'm not denying it, but in the 1800s in the UK, I think they opened over 1,000 gin bars.
Jeez.
That's in the 1800s.
Look at Tanqueray and Gordon's.
These are.
But not only that. If you look at the majority of any distillery, whether it's a whiskey or a brandy distillery, most of them will have a gin attached already. It's just that it's sort of it's not a brand new thing.
No, it's not.
It's been done.
But
for a long
also
time.
remember, South Africans, if they drink Corona for the first time, they say, "Hey, there's this new beer called Corona."
Exactly.
It's been around for years.
And if you sit with a Mexican and you say that,
will be like,
"No, senor."
In Mexico, they don't even sell it. At the restaurant. Because for them, it's like cheap beer.
It's like
Actually, your story is super inspiring, and just the way in which you've carried your business or businesses or yourself rather as an entrepreneur is really inspiring. Your story is amazing. I think you're about to fly an amazing flag in this new endeavor of native culture. Let's get it out there. Let's get the people to come and try it. Let's get the people to buy it. Where can we get it?
Right now, we distributing ourselves. But also we've listed in restaurants from Brett's, Karankua. We used to have in the CBD. We decided to not continue with the CBD. We've got Midrand, we've got Maboneng and Soweto and Alex. And
so what we'll do is maybe we'll get some of those details and put them up on the episode and share with people where they can go and actually try it. Let's get it out there. We're taking officially a break from October today to sample it because it would be a complete injustice.
It would actually be rude.
It actually would. It actually would. So we're doing this for work purposes. Is there anything on your side that you want to put out there into the world, or say, or is there any little bit of advice of somebody who's maybe trying to do something either in the food and beverage industry or even just
in business?
In business as a
I think the best advice I can give in business,
Yeah.
and this is something that I apply to myself.
Yeah.
If you have an idea, start.
Have you been watching our show?
Start.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that, you know. Because we for me is that we keep complicating this whole starting thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes yes, you need capital.
Yeah.
But sometimes capital can come once you start.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Start with what you have.
Yeah.
Grow and then people will find you on the journey.
So you've just said our story, because that's what we did.
Yeah.
We bought a camera and we started.
And that's it.
Now it's evolving into something that is...
And also opportunities start presenting themselves, you know. You start seeing that opportunity
of which you'd never see
you've never seen if you didn't start, you know, and then you get connected to people by other people.
Yeah.
So human capital is very valuable. As you know, and when you say human capital, people start thinking about the guy cooking in the kitchen and the waiter and but the network of people that you associate with or that you've come to know. Either you went to school with them or you went to varsity with them, or you know you worked with them at some corporate company.
And I always say, how powerful is your phone book?
Yeah, thank you. I can't lose my phone.
But either way, we've just become human capital for each other.
Yeah.
There we
also.
go.
So
for sure.
Absolute pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure to introduce you as an entrepreneur to everybody and the brand and go out there, you know, guys. Native Culture Gin. Ashley, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Yeah.
Anyway, guys, so that's episode 39.
You know what to do, right?
We don't even need to go through that anymore, guys. But let's do it anyway. Like, follow, share, subscribe,
notification,
click the bell, do all of those things. Episode 39. Ashley Moemise and
I am native.
Yes, native gin. So with that, I got one deuce.
I got two.
2 deuces.
We out.
Off the record, we out.